Production funding for Flying Squirrels Insider is made possible in part by the Buick LaCrosse, a luxury sedan available at your local Buick dealer. Experience Buick.
In the air to right field. This one hit deep. Miller heading back, watching it fly, and Perez has given the Squirrels the finale. Greetings once again, everybody, and welcome to a special all-star installment of Flying Squirrels Insider. I'm your host, Jon Laaser, soon to be joined on set by Jay Burnham and Sports Radio 910's Wes McElroy. 7-player contingent representing the Squirrels is heading to New Britain, Connecticut for the Eastern League All-Star Classic. We'll tell you how they got there, and we'll celebrate the unofficial midway point of the 2013 season by looking back at the top 10 moments of the first half of the year. And a bit later, Flying Squirrels local owner Brian Callaghan will join me right here on FSI Field and plot the road ahead for the Squirrels franchise. All that later, but first we celebrate the All-Star break, which is enjoyed by those Squirrels that have not been named to the All-Star team. Somewhat peculiar to congratulate those that didn't make the squad, but that's what we are here. So without further ado, a glimpse at the scatter drill that is the All-Star break as we proudly bring to you, congratulations, you're not an All-Star. Congratulations, you're not an all-star. And I know that sounds a little crass, but in actuality, for a lot of guys, they love the recognition of being an all-star, of course, but that means you have to go compete in the all-star game. You don't get the baseball mini vacation in the middle of the year. So we're going to talk to some of the guys not joining the Squirrels all-star contingent in New Britain and see what they're up to during their all-star break. Last year, he led the Western Division All-Stars in the All-Star game, but Mac, this year the league has gone in a different direction. Congratulations, you're not an All-Star.
What are you talking about? I'm not an All-Star.
Oh, they didn't tell you?
I'm not doing it this year?
No.
I got 2 days off?
They gave the they gave the honor to Chris Crone. You got 2 days off. What are you going to do?
Probably go bowling.
What are you going to be doing now that you have the All-Star break?
I'm thinking about taking up crochet for a couple of days. Should probably help my finger out a little bit.
You are somewhat of a savant. You think you can squeeze that in 2 days?
I think so. I think I got it.
Well, best of luck. And again, congratulations on not being an Eastern League All-Star.
Thank you.
Stroms, congratulations, sir. You are not an All-Star.
Oh, man. Thanks, Lays. I appreciate it.
So that means you'll have 2 days off. What are you going to do?
Well, I have a couple days off. I was really wanted to go to Australia, see the Great Barrier Reef. So I think I'm going to take a nice little day trip out there and see how that is.
All-Star numbers, but Ryan, big news, congratulations, you are not an All-Star.
Thanks, man. Means a lot.
You get the vacation. What will you do with it?
I'm just gonna come back up here to the field and take BP for the next 2 days on my days off.
Raj, I have some great news for you. Congratulations, you're not an All-Star.
Thank you. I mean, it really means a lot. It's taken a lot of work to get to this point. And so, just knowing that you put in all the hours so that now you can sit here and enjoy the All-Star break while everybody else is out throwing in front of a lot of fans and scouts. I mean, it feels great.
My wife, Miss Bird, has been on me about ballroom dancing, so I think we're going to spend probably the off days ballroom dancing, and then we have 4 days in Bowie, which is about 45 minutes from the house, and so I can probably get in some dancing in the morning also. So we're going full bore on this.
Well, best of luck. It'll be a challenge with 2 left feet.
Absolutely.
Ross Grimsley, not an All-Star. Flying Squirrels left-hander Phil McCormick now with us. And Phil, congratulations, you're not an All-Star. You'll get that break.
I got added to the roster. I'm going to go.
No, you didn't. You're not an All-Star.
Yeah, I am.
No, you're not. Let's move on. What are you going to do with your break? You got some free time.
I'm going to go to Britain. I'm going to pitch in the All-Star game.
All-Star game at a family picnic?
No, like Eastern League, like Western Division. That's what I'm going to do.
Sometimes you have to be a bit naive to succeed in this game. Nobody campaigned harder to not be an All-Star, work harder at it. Congratulations, your efforts have paid off. You're not an All-Star.
Oh, thank you, Liz. Thank you.
2 days off. You You've got a wide imagination and a number of hobbies. Which one will you be focusing on here with the break?
Well, I picked up this new thing last offseason that I want to make into like a second career for myself, and so I'll be practicing my Irish river dance very much.
Is that a one-man show, or does that involve other characters?
There's a couple of us, but you know what? As I am in everything, I'm the star. So.
Well, thank you once again. And again, I've never seen such efforts to not be an all-star. Congratulations on it paying off. Back here with Squirrels right fielder Jarrett Parker, who's had a great first half. And Jarrett, I do have some news for you. Congratulations, you're not an all-star.
What?
Not an all-star. And welcome back to Flying Squirrels Insider. A big thanks to our non-All-Star Flying Squirrels. I'm about to be joined by a couple of other guys that were snubbed of All-Star recognition, Jay Burnham and Wes McElroy, in just a second. But first, I do remind you to text FSI during the program today for your opportunity to win free stuff to 44544. Again, that's FSI to 44544. And also again today we've got another beautiful Buick. This is actually Parney's Buick, the Buick Lacrosse, and our thanks to our good folks at the Richmond area Buick GMC dealers. All right, guys, I bring you in, and once again, I'm sorry I opened the show with a shot at you. I do that from time to time, but the non-All-Stars we saw, a couple of guys added to the All-Star contingent for the Squirrels. Jay, we weren't necessarily expecting that. Phil McCormick and Joe Panic also heading to New Britain.
Yeah, we were expecting 5 guys to be taking place in the All-Star game up in New Britain. That's actually happening today as we film this. But due to the fact that if you play well here at the AA level, you get to be promoted up to AAA or maybe even the major league. So for the Squirrels, they get to fill in some of the cracks that have been left by some of the players on other teams getting promoted to AAA. McCormick will be able to pitch. That's a key reason why he's able to play in the All-Star game. One, because he's pretty much pitched in every game that the Squirrels have played this season. He's leading the league in appearances. And Joe Panic, at one point, you would have said was a surefire All-Star in this league. He had a little bit of a slump during June. Well, now he gets a chance to actually be an All-Star this year.
And I think sometimes on a Joe Panic, you want him in that All-Star game just because of the caliber of player that he is. And the Eastern League jumped at that opportunity. Phil McCormick, like you said, he could pitch. Jack Snodgrass going, but might not throw because he did start for the Squirrels a couple of days back. Well, Wes, 7 All-Stars, the largest contingent that the Squirrels have sent. We've had talent in the River City over the first 3 years. Is this the most talented Squirrels team that we've seen?
I think if you take a look from the hitting standpoint of this team, it absolutely is. The way Mark Minikazi's hit the ball this year, Javier Herrera, even when he came back from the DL, really picked up right where he left off. Adam Duvall had a strong start. He went on the DL. He's been in a little bit of a slump, but still he's a power bat. Andrew Susak's 11 home runs. So, yeah, from a hitting standpoint, absolutely. But you take a look back at the pitching that we had last year, Mike Kickham, Heston had an ERA under 2, was 6-3 at the All-Star break. You had Justin Fitzgerald now at the AAA level, and Chris Glure, who had a nice start to the season last year. So from a hitting standpoint, definitely the most talent. From a pitching, I'm sure we'll get into the struggles here in a little bit.
Despite that fact, and nice segue there from Wes McElroy, this team has been struggling mightily. In fact, they had a very poor month of June. There's really no way to sugarcoat that, Jay. I'm going to tease it. Pitching probably is the reason.
Yeah, and without really, as you said, it's hard to kind of dance around why this team has been struggling the way they have, and it starts with the fact that the pitching has been behind the 8 ball, and it's not only the fact that they've lost games by wide margins. They've lost games early in contests, in the second inning, in the third inning, being down 6-0 or 5-0 after just a couple of frames. And the reason being is that the pitching has kept this defense on the field, much like a football team where the opposition is constantly driving on you. Defense has been out there. That has affected the offense, and it really has led to some struggles for this club.
Wes, why does that affect the offense so much? And we've heard even guys like Adam Duvall saying it has been a factor.
Oh, it has been, and I think it's a great parallel comparison that you used. It's like keeping your defense out in the field way too long. Look, we're talking about well-conditioned athletes, but at the same time, you go stand outside in your front yard and go stand out there for an average of 10 to 12 minutes, go inside for a couple minutes, go right back out and keep doing that about 9 times. It drains you. It takes the fluids out of you. And to sit there, even in a night game, you know, where you're starting off games, and we've seen these temperatures at start of games even at 6:30 where they're 90 degrees. You stand outside at night, it will drain you. It will wear you down to do that on a night in, night out basis. I mean, it takes its toll.
You might think, by the way, that we're sitting here talking out of school because we haven't been through those physical rigors. Well, actually, new homeowner Wes McElroy just was griping before we started taping about a endurance test, I think is what you said about landscaping the McElroy mansion last weekend. But no, there is something to that, and the humidity, Jay, right now is not helping.
Yeah, and to add to that, and when the starting pitching has struggled, and it's been Carlos Teller who has really kind of been able to improve, and the bottom line is you want to get better, and this is not about the wins and losses, but when your starting pitcher is unable to go 2 innings or 3 innings, that puts a lot of pressure and the onus on your bullpen, and it throws you out of whack for the remainder of the series or the upcoming series where guys have to pitch multiple innings when they should probably only be pitching 1 and have to pitch on consecutive days without much rest.
And just adding one real quick thing, we all have been around baseball long enough. You get to a point in the season where it's the dog days, where the wear and tear just of the season alone adds up. Now you compound it with this, it's draining.
Unfortunately, we started using that term dog days, all joking aside, a lot earlier than you normally would. It's usually associated with the month of August, which we're not yet to. Okay, we're not going to go negative on FSI for that long because that's not what we do here. And the Giants, recognizing this team needed some help, it has arrived in the form of 2 big arms in the bullpen.
Yeah, 2 big arms in Cody Hall that we've seen in Josh Osich. These are top 30 prospects for the San Francisco Giants, and if they succeed here, they might not be here long. But we discussed this on the radio broadcast as well. What this does for Dave McAmyer is it allows you to utilize some of the other guys, 2 all-stars in your bullpen, Edwin Quirarte, Phil McCormick, in various roles and more situational roles where they're not anchored to the 8th and 9th innings. And I think it just makes this team better all the way around.
Breaking news to FSI, by the way, just got an email from Bobby Evans, the vice president of the Giants, telling us that we're also getting Edwin Escobar, and he's going to join the Flying Squirrels rotation during that Bowie series. We'll have more on Edwin the next time here on this program, but in short, he is a power arm who is highly thought of in the Giants organization, so that will definitely help as well. Also, roster overhaul, Wes, and it was a big one during the last road trip. Angel Villalona and Ricky Oropesa swapped along with Skylar Stromsmo, rejoining this team, the super utility man. But the big news was the Villalona promotion here to Double-A. And why do you think they did that at this time?
Because they needed power in this offense. They also needed to work with Ricky Oropesa. This is only his 2nd year up in professional ball. So they had some time. They saw certain things. They wanted to bring him back, and they wanted to tweak. But they also bring up Villalona, who has been hitting at the single-A level. He had 14 home runs, 16 doubles. He's been hitting the ball. He's been hitting for power. And this is the guy who, well chronicled, has issues of the past, was out of baseball for 3 years. Now he's making his return. So he's got the power. He's got the beef. Now we want to see, with 8 games while we're taping this in, he's shown that he can hit doubles, already got his first home run. Now we just want to see, can he fully adjust? Because as we saw with his team, the Squirrels came out hot, then they kind of hit their funk. We'll see as we get a bigger sample size what Villalona's all about.
Jay, we were talking about this, and we have extensively on the radio broadcast. Villalona and Oropesa, although Oropesa's a left-handed batter and Villalona's a right-handed batter, they both have similar strengths. Yeah. Which one do you feel is ahead of the other right now?
Well, I think Villalona's ahead of Oropesa just because from what we've seen, he doesn't chase those breaking balls off the outer part of the plate. But I will say this, the Giants have a lot invested in Villalona, over $2 million. They signed him at such a young age out of the Dominican Republic. And 2, he's on the 40-man roster, so his clock is ticking for San Francisco, and they need to find out sooner with Villalona what they have as opposed to Oropesa, who can wait a little bit back. And for Ricky, he was struggling here in that 5 slot, and as much as we talked about how great this offense has been, it has struggled in that 5 hole behind Duvall and Minikazi, so hopefully it'll get a little bit of an extra boost with Villalona.
So the Squirrels are going to have a new look following the All-Star break, and we'll have an All-Star update, but we would be remiss on the program if we didn't look back on the unofficial first half. When FSI continues, we present to you the top 10 moments from the first half of 2013. Double dose of the panel on this edition of FSI. Jon Laaser, Wes McElroy, and Jay Burnham back with you. And I have a question for you. If you haven't texted FSI yet to 44544, what's going on? You don't want free stuff? Jay actually personally ships that out each and every week. Again, FSI to 44544. 4-4. All right, guys, it's not actually the halfway point of the season. This is the way baseball works, and the Eastern League has a similar program to Major League Baseball where you get to about 60% of your schedule done at the All-Star break, but we call it the unofficial first half. We thought, what a great time for a top 10 countdown. Although the Squirrels have struggled lately, they have had a number of very unique moments. We wanted to count down the top 10 for you. This is an FSI first. Let's get off and running. We have to go all the way back to the end of April, Wes. Flying Squirrels nearly coughing away a lead or coughing up a lead in Bowie, but 2 runners thrown out at the plate, one by Jarrett Parker, one by Javier Herrera. Thrilling win.
It was a thrilling win, and this is something that we go back to the first show that we did. We were talking about what Andrew Susak brings to this team, and I remember Jay a couple of times questioning who was going to catch for this team, not only from the hitting aspect, but he really showed his defensive prowess. And you go in that game, you had Parker, you had Herrera in the end. You go back earlier in the game, you were there. Brett Krill threw another guy out at home. So you had that 3 times in one game, 2 times at a critical juncture. It was the first save for Edwin Chiarte. So that was really one of those nights where this new team was still gelling. Everybody got involved for a real big, significant win.
You saw the emotion in that inning. It was one of the most fun innings I've called in my career, and it was also the most fun game I've ever called in Bowie. Not a high bar. Anyway, I digress. There's number 10. We're off and running. Jay, number 9, we go forward about a month, a little more than a month, to June 2nd. Squirrels playing their best baseball of the season. Erie comes into town with a swagger and leaves with their tail between their legs.
This was a wave of euphoria for the Squirrels. A 3-game series against then the first place Erie Seawolves. We had not seen Erie all season long, only we saw them at the top of the standings, with the Squirrels winning the first 2 games, needing to take the finale to not only win but also push themselves into first place. You go to the bottom, go to the last inning, and it was Ricky Oropesa hitting a home run to tie the game, and then Jarrett Parker hitting a walk-off home run over the right center field wall, mind you. That really just gave this team a lot to cheer for.
Unfortunately, by the way, that was the last home run that Jarrett Parker has hit, and it came at the end of a binge. We'll get to some of those moments a little bit later on in our top 10. All right, speeding right along, same series, Wes. This one doesn't need as much explanation. Squirrels continue to rocket at the gate during that Erie series, back-to-back sellouts for the first time since 2010.
The atmosphere was so much fun. You get to certain points of the season. We talk about opening day, we talk about Independence Day, where the electricity is so memorable. That was a lot of fun, those 2 days, and you take a look at what happened with the team. The offense was kicking. Dave McElroy gets his 1,600th win. The team instantly jumps on him, covers him in baby powder and whatever else they could find in the clubhouse. It was just a lot of fun to be around, and then it tied into that Sunday performance. Right. But the back-to-back sellouts, the end of May into June, school's going on, family's still around. That was just a lot of fun to be there.
Number 7, we saw it was a whole month of moments for Mark Minikazi, but we condense it for the strength of this countdown. Mark Minikazi named Player of the Month. It was in a runaway.
Yeah, and really not much else to discuss here. We've talked a lot about Minikazi and his month of May on the show and on the broadcast, but it's not only been the month of May for Minikazi. He's extended that into June and now early July. He leads the league in hitting, and I think at one point in early April where he was really struggling, there may have been some doubts if Minikazi could play in this league, and well, he's certainly surpass those.
Sometimes in life, saying goodbye to someone makes you feel good. I know that's the case for me. Daryl Madej, Justin Fitzgerald, both promoted. We also compacted that into one moment because they had been here as somewhat of a package. They're both up in Fresno, and really that was felt throughout the entire organization. Moment number 6.
It was. Justin Fitzgerald is a guy who he kind of got off on the right foot this year, and you could kind of sense that the Giants had bigger plans for him. And as you said, Daryl Madej, he's been here for so many significant moments, including opening day, part of the no-hitter this year, which we'll get to. But this was one of those where people in the clubhouse, people who empty the trash, people who are just fans, hit you up on Twitter real big. People were just so happy for Daryl.
Number 5, we thought we'd make SportsCenter for something that we had done on the show. It didn't happen. It did because our rally pig escaped his cart, Jade. Moment number 5, Parker gets loose at the diamond.
Yeah, Parker gets loose. Farmer Larry bringing him around in rally fashion, coming up against the visiting dugout on the third base side, colliding with the shortstop of the opposing team. Parker gets spooked, jumps out, and everybody tries to catch him, and it's a game of catch the pig.
And they didn't catch him. Nope. He didn't need grease even. Number 4, the Squirrels rewrite the offensive record book in Altoona. May 26th, Jarrett Parker highlights that effort by homering twice in the same inning.
2 home runs, first inning. This team goes out in a 9-0 run. I mean, you had everybody. Krill, he has a triple short of the cycle. Even Carlos Teller was hitting that night. You go on to win 7 RBIs for Jarrett Parker in that game. It was, I remember I was driving back from the Phillies Nationals games listening to you, and what was the game that would never end? It was a highlight reel after every swing.
See how good we are? That was actually moment 4 and moment 3. We speed ahead on our top 10 moments of the unofficial first half of 2013. Triple play. You don't see those very often. Just the second time in franchise history it came to end a game against your beloved Trenton Thunder.
Absolutely, and it was Scott Schumann on the mound who had struggled to throw strikes. He had the bases loaded, and Schumann got a line drive to Joe Panik, who did the rest. So for the Squirrels, not only for the team, but also for Schumann, giving them a little bit of momentum.
And number 1, I think this was a no-brainer. Second day of the season. Sometimes you get them early. A no-no. Jack Snodgrass and Darryl Madej.
First impression of Jack Snodgrass, quite a first impression. Darryl Madej, another highlight in his Richmond career.
And he continued to roll to the All-Star game. Notice that one of our moments was not announcing a new ballpark. Wah, wah. However, when we come back, the final installment segment of FSI Today, we're joined by local owner of the Flying Squirrels, Brian Callaghan. We'll get an update on that process and other organizational matters. More FSI is next.
And now it's time for more Dugout Thoughts with Chris Glore.
Seeds, seeds, seeds. I chew, I chew, I chew 'em. Cleats, cleats, cleats. I wear 'em. Hitters, hitters, hitters. I strike 'em out. Grammy, book it.
FSI continues as we've taken it to FSI Field, and we've brought in a very special guest here today, and he is local owner for the Flying Squirrels, Brian Callaghan. BC, thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Well, in truth, this was just a golf invitation, masked as an invitation here to the television studio. But we did want to get your thoughts, because it's been another summer of turbulence, I think might be the right word, in terms of progress for the new ballpark, and wanted to come right to the horse's mouth to see where that process is.
Well, I wish we had some real concrete developments to talk about. We're still in discussions, is kind of where it's at with the city of Richmond. We feel more encouraged about where it's at this year as opposed to last year, but we're not as close as anybody would like.
There's been a referendum actually recently. I know the Squirrels haven't talked much about it, and still officially our stance is that, hey, we want fun, wherever that might be. I know it's somewhat of a cliched answer, but it's also true.
Yeah, well, I think the team we can, whether it's the bottom or the boulevard, we may all privately have our preferences, but we'll be able to make either location work. It's a question of, can we get the localities to kind of see it through?
Todd Parnell is always quick to divert attention back to the fact that we actually have a season going on. It's been a very successful season, not of late on the field, but as you know, and as a lot of our viewers know as well, those two are separate entities, off the field and on the field. Squirrels continue to rock it at the gate, for lack of a better term, which usually we have here.
Yeah, this is a great baseball town. I mean, I think sometimes I've lived in Richmond for a long time. People sometimes make it seem like we're not a sports town, but we truly are. I mean, you have to look at how we lead the Eastern League in attendance year after year, and this year no exception. We had a lot of tough weather dates, and so we're really encouraged about the fan turnout again.
And it's energy. I think you've talked about it before. Chuck Domino will talk about it as well. In order to continue to have that success in an aging facility, doing the same things basically a lot of times promotionally, you have to do it with enthusiasm.
We do, and I think the thing we're really fortunate to have is a great staff, present company excluded, but the folks that we have.
You almost snuck that by on me. I didn't even catch that.
But Parney, yourself, all of the folks that we've got there at the stadium, they're really the heart of the ball club, and we've got great fans, and so we're really in a fortunate spot here in Richmond when it comes to baseball.
Seems like just yesterday that we were meeting you for the first time. It's now been almost 4 years of this franchise, and I think you have a good idea of what you want the roadmap to be. If you were to look into your crystal ball 5 years from now, what does the Flying Squirrels franchise look like?
Well, I think everybody would love to see us resolve this ballpark issue. I think that's probably the number one thing. I often wonder what the Richmond Times-Dispatch will do when there's no articles to be written about a new ballpark.
Yeah, John O'Connor out of a job.
Yeah. But I think that once we put that behind us, we get back to just the business of having fun. Coming out to the ballpark, having a great, affordable night for families, for kids, for people of all stripes to come out, and that's really where we see the future continuing to be bright. And
your son's maybe being drafted by the Giants about that
yes,
time. Actually, we got about 10 more years for that, don't we? But it still seems like they're there almost every night.
they believe that they could go out on the field and play, and Dave McElroy, will occasionally tell them he'll work them in a game, and we all know that he's kidding, but they don't they buy into it, so they're always asking me, which is precious.
One of the things I've always enjoyed about you is you also have a baseball savvy on top of a business one. Very quickly, in about 20 seconds, your thoughts on this team on the field.
This team has been really interesting because at the start of the season, I thought, well, we're finally going to have a team that can hit. And that's really kind of been the weak spot for Squirrels teams in the past. And up and down the lineup, guys were hitting. We've really gone cold. We knew pitching was going to be a challenge. There are a lot of talented guys that we're getting to come through the system, and that's been unique this year as opposed to in years past. Sometimes we started with the talent, we lost it along the way. This year we're kind of benefiting from the call-ups from San Jose. Very excited you guys talked about Darryl going up to AAA. That's great. But I'm hopeful this team is going to start to click again because they have the ability. They showed us that ability, and so that's been great.
We're going to rush off at the end of this edition of Flying Squirrels Insider because BC and I have a tea time. No joke. It's the All-Star break. We're going to take the rest of it back with you on the next time. Thanks to everybody involved with FSI. And for all of them, I'm Jon Laaser saying so long for now.
Production funding for Flying Squirrels Insider is made possible in part by the GMC Terrain, available at your local GMC dealer. We are professional grade.